Parshas Vayeishev, Tov Shin Pei Hey. Getting very, very close to Hanukkah, actually, too. Hanukkah is going to be, a week from today is already Hanukkah. It's amazing how the time goes. From Sukkot, we were just getting out of the Sukkah, talking about some Torah, and just like that, it's Hanukkah. And I got news for you. We're sort of used to, last year was a leap year, so the space between Hanukkah and Purim seemed just a little bit longer. But this year, the minute Hanukkah is over, before you turn around, that's it. Purim is coming, Pesach is coming. So we really have so many important parshias with so many important lessons. So if you can at least make each Thursday night count, you can at least make each Shabbos, each parsha count, then as you move along in the months, you'll feel like you're going away with something, you're picking things up along the way. Special night tonight, also it's Yat Kislev. Yat Kislev, known as the Rosh Hashanah for Chassidus. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it means something. It could be that, I was just mentioning to Rabbi Brol over here, that it could be the Rosh Hashanah means, that's how you plan out the different tours, to Lezent, to Uman. So the year starts now, and then there's other things also, right, besides that. So if we start, the year has to start somewhere. So now you have to start booking your tickets. If that's what you like to do with your life, then you have to start booking your tickets now for the next year. And the Baal Shem Tov, speaking about, the Baal Shem Tov says on the Pasuk in Tehillim. Pasuk in Tehillim we're all familiar with. We say it every Shabbos and davening. You dance on Simchas Torah. Not so long ago. Toras Hashem Tamima Meshivas Nofesh. The Baal Shem Tov says about that pasuk, what does it mean, Toras Hashem Tamima? That it's complete. Says the Baal Shem Tov that what it means is that the Torah always remains whole. Now, of course, we have to explain what does that mean. He says it means whole in a way that after all is said and done, and after all the explanations are done regarding different things in the Torah, where we try to comprehend the Torah still remains whole. In other words, it's beyond human question and understanding. And he brings the raya to this point is our parsha. And he references our parsha. You think the beginning of our parsha, especially in Parshas Vayeishev, the episode of Yosef being sold by the other Shvatim, it's really, think about it, it's beyond our comprehension. How did it happen that the Shvatim, who are like Malachim, when we speak about the Shvatim, we're literally speaking about human beings that walk this earth as Malachim, how could they have seemed to have done such a Maisa, to take Yosef, sell him, and actually they didn't just want to sell him, they set out to kill Yosef. They wanted to kill Yosef. And the Medrash Tanchuma tells us something fascinating, and he says that the Shechina had also joined them. They needed whatever, they were making a Bezdin, and they needed, the Shechina joined them in this thing. So how is it possible? It seems like the Shechina was actually maskim to what they were doing. Okay, so we have a question, how is it possible that they wanted to do such a thing? But the question is a little bit more, how do we say this, fascinating, when we realize that the Shechina went along with it. So they were doing something possibly, and we'll explain soon, probably, that Hashem wanted them to do. Also, asked in Nesivos Shalom, does it not seem that Yaakov Avinu went against the Chazal in Masechta Shabbos? Chazal tell us, L'olam al yishane adam b'noi bein habonim. A person, the Gemara tells us, Chazal tells us, teaches a very, very important lesson, that a person should never differentiate and give preferential treatment to one child over the other. Everybody should be equal. If one child has a bar mitzvah like this, so the next child should have exactly the same bar mitzvah. Everybody should have equal. All children should be equal. Don't show preferential treatment to one over the other. So too, the pasuk says about the Shvatim, to Yosef, Vayisneu Oisai. They hate I don't want to say the word, we're talking about the Shvatim, but the translation of the word is that they hated him. And another pasuk says, Vayikanu Boy Echav, right before Sheni. The last pasuk says that they were jealous. Aren't these things, to hate someone, have jealousy, they're asur min ha-Torah. Okay, I know it was before Kabbalah Torah, but the Shvatim, Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov, they kept the Torah, and they should be hating somebody? They should be jealous of somebody? Something doesn't, and Yosef telling his father negative things about the Shvatim, and that's what started this whole thing. That doesn't sound very right either. That's clear Lashon Hara. We know how terrible Lashon Hara is. Some say it's so many more times greater a sin than other Averos. Lashon Hara on Yosef, on Tzaddik. Something doesn't sound right. So the Nesivos Shalom explains, and he says to begin to understand any of this a little bit, we need to mention something that we've spoken about, one of the themes of the Nesivos Shalom throughout the Torah. The Nesivos Shalom tells us that the Avos HaKadoshim, the Avos were so holy that they were at the point that their Eivarim, their limbs, actually naturally did the Ratzon Hashem. That they were so trained, like some people, many people, people have good intentions. You want to do something right. You want to do Ratzon Hashem. You have good intentions in your mind. So if you keep your mind trained and focused on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so you could train your mind to be thinking about Hashem. This week in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch Yomi, we learned about making mundane activities, things that you do on a regular basis every day, like going to sleep, waking up, eating, drinking, sleeping, all these kind of things that you do every single day. If you just have kavanah, that you're doing it for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that you should be able to learn Torah, that you should be able to, it's a mitzvah also to take care of your body. So if you have in mind while you're exercising, or you're riding your bike to our shir here tonight, you're coming, doing exercise in order to learn Torah. So a person could train their mind that they're focused on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You could train your heart to focus and to feel for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But it's a whole other level to get to the point where your body and your limbs automatically follow and do the Ratzon Hashem. And the limbs of holy tzaddikim that are really trained, they become a vehicle for the will of Hashem. They automatically do what Hashem wants from them, from Shemayim. So like we said, we've mentioned in previous years by the Akedah, so the Pasuk says about Avraham Avinu, Vayishlach es Yodai. Avraham Avinu sent his hand. Now, I don't know about you, but unless someone had issues, I never saw people talking to their hands. Right? If they do, there's something off, right? So, Avraham Avinu, Vayishlach es Yodai, he sent his hand. How do you send your hand? Avraham Avinu, it says right here, he had to literally send and force his hand to act at the Akedah. You know why? Because the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we know, this is a little bit of a deep thought here. The will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu was that Yitzchak Avinu should be shechted on the Akedah? Of course not. He told Avraham Avinu, but we know the end result, that of course HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not want that anything should happen to Yitzchak Avinu at the Akedah. So Avraham Avinu was so in tune and he was so trained to do the Ratzon Hashem that his hand would not move. When he was told at the Akedah that he should do something to Yitzchak Avinu, Avraham Avinu's limbs knew what the Ratzon Hashem was, and the Ratzon Hashem was nothing should happen. So the Pasuk has to tell us, Vayishlach es Yodai, Avraham Avinu had to push his hand. He had to send his hand because it wouldn't do it on its own. So with this Yesod, we could try to explain, we had all these questions on Yaakov Avinu, on Yosef. We could try to explain some of these questions that we had about our parsha. Yaakov and the Shvatim did not really have a choice what to do when it came to Mechiras Yosef, and the way that Yaakov acted with Yosef. We had questions. Yaakov should act with Yosef, treat him as a preferential son. The Shvatim should go and sell Yosef, want to kill him. They didn't have a choice. Our Parsha, the beginning, this week we're going to Mitzrayim. Yaakov Avinu, right? Yosef is in Mitzrayim, and it will be followed next week by Yaakov Avinu, Klal Yisrael starting already to go down to Mitzrayim, beginning of Golus Mitzrayim. Hashem had told Avraham Avinu a few parashas ago, Avraham Avinu, you should know that your descendants are one day going to live in a foreign land. They're going to go into Golus. And Rashi tells us that Yaakov Bikesh Yaakov Leishev Bashalva. Yaakov Avinu felt that I mean, to use these words is like, but sort of a retirement, that he had served his time and brought up his children. Yaakov wanted to sit quietly at rest now, but that could not happen because the Ratzon Hashem was that Klal Yisrael had to pay forward with this chayv of Galus. Klal Yisrael had to go into Galus. Why? Because Yosef had to be sold and treated preferential, and that his brothers would, quote, hate him, and they would sell him, and they would be jealous of him, because Yosef had to become the king of Mitzrayim, because otherwise, Klal Yisrael had to go to Galus. And if Yosef wasn't the king, they would have had to go down, the Medrash tells us, in chains. They would have had to go down to Mitzrayim, into Galus, as slaves. So in order for all that Yaakov should go down to Mitzrayim in royalty, the Shvatim should be treated with royalty eventually in Mitzrayim, all of that they should not go b'derech bizoyon, that had to all play out. So because these tzaddikim had to play out the Ratzon Hashem, so all these things had to happen. Their limbs, their bodies, they were just moving. They weren't conscious, they weren't consciously doing something wrong. It happened automatically because they were on such a high madrega. The limbs of the tzaddikim, Yaakov and the Shvatim, had to do all this, Ratzon Hashem, and make all of this play out. Yes, even the kina and the sinna, which to us, to our small-minded, to our eyes, we don't see the great big picture. We don't see exactly what the Ratzon Hashem is. So to us, it seems like it's a little strange how they would act that way. But all of that had to be done also. And even in our parsha also, think for a minute, the episode of Yehuda and Tamar that took place in our parsha. So at first glance, what's going on here with Yehuda and Tamar? The answer is that once again, Hashem has a plan. And what's the plan? Who comes out of the union of Yehuda and Tamar? Mashiach. Mashiach, Malchus Beis David, Mashiach comes out from Yehuda and Tamar. And that's the Ratzon Hashem. And because the Ratzon Hashem is that very soon we should be able to leave this Galus, we should be able to greet Mashiach. In order for that to happen, Yehuda and Tamar had to happen too. Coming to this week, Mirz Hashem, next week's shir will be on Hanukkah, and in Mirz Hashem we're going to give a shir about Hanukkah, but we're coming to a very special time of the year. When we think of Geula, a week coming toward us of light, of special light for Klal Yisrael, special light throughout the generations. It comes around, Nesivos Shalom says always, every year, the light of Hanukkah comes around again. And our job is to understand that whatever's happening around us is leading us to that day of Mashiach, is leading us to the great light of Mashiach. The Ratzon Hashem is going to happen whether we understand it or not. And hopefully it will happen very soon. And that's just a little bit of an explanation of what's going on in our parsha, that the will of Hashem takes precedence over everything. And just a little explanation into what happened with Yaakov Avinu, with Yosef and the Shvatim.